The anime begins with a boy named Yoshida dining at an elegant restaurant with a girl named Garu. She tells him that the food was excellent and thanks him for inviting her to dinner. He blushes and can't stop trembling. When he musters the courage to speak, he asks her if she'd like to come to his apartment, but she embarrassedly tells him that she has a boyfriend. This shatters Yoshida's heart into 1,000 pieces. Disheartened, he goes to a bar to drink and starts shouting in anger. A guy tells him he should calm down, but he refuses, saying that she had been with her partner for 5 years, and his friend tells him he should leave because his wife is waiting for him. We see our protagonist staggering down the street when he suddenly sees a young woman sitting on the sidewalk. He approaches her and asks her what she's doing out so late, telling her to go back home. She says she can't because the station is closed, and he asks her where she'll stay. She says that staying there would be too cold. She shamelessly asks him to let her come to his house, referring to him as old man. Surprised by her words, he tells her that she shouldn't go to a stranger's house, but she insists that she has nowhere else to go. He recommends she go to an internet cafe or karaoke, but she says she doesn't have money. She then tells him that if he lets her stay the night, she'll sleep with him. He's shocked and tells her no and to stop joking. He says he won't sleep with a brat, so she tells him to let her stay for free. He agrees. When they arrive at his place, she complains about the dirtiness, and he quickly goes to bed. She goes to his side and takes off her clothes, asking if he really doesn't want to sleep with her, to which he responds with a no. Upon hearing this, she feels disappointed and asks if there's anything she can do for him. He suggests making him miso soup and then goes to sleep. The next day, Yoshida wakes up suddenly, thinking he'll be late for work, but then realizes it's Sunday. When he wakes up, the girl wishes him good morning and shouts, asking who the hell she is and what she's doing in his house. She explains what happened. He looks at her and asks if he went too far with her. She says no, repeating that she wouldn't do it with a brat, but she tells him she made the miso soup he asked for. He tells her she shouldn't cook in other people's houses, but she says he asked her to do it, calling him old man again. He gets angry and tells her to stop calling him that. The young woman then asks how she should address him, and he responds that he doesn't care and that she should leave. He starts to remember, but all he remembers is that the girl had black panties. She tells him he's a pervert and asks for his name again. He tells her it's Yoshida, and she says that name suits him. Then she tells him to have the soup before it gets cold. He gets angry because she's giving him orders, but due to his hunger, he decides to try it. And apparently, he really likes it. The girl tells him he probably wanted Garu to make the soup. Surprised, he asks how she knows that, and she says that she knows that he rejected her the night before and asks if he wants to be comforted. He tells her to stop provoking him, saying that a flat-chested brat won't win him over. She decides to unbutton her shirt and show him her breasts, saying that she thinks her breasts are big. He tells her they might be, but Garu's are better. She asks him what cup size he thinks she has. He answers, F cup, and tells her that if Garu has an F cup, then they're the same size, but if she's bigger, it should be an H cup. He says he would have liked to be in those H cups. Then he asks her why she wants to seduce him and if she wants to be with him. She replies, no. So, he gets angry and asks her what she's up to. She hugs him and presses her breasts against him, telling him he's strange because he won't sleep with her even though she gave him a place to stay. He pushes her away and asks for her name, and she seems uncomfortable, so he asks for her ID. The girl's name is Seiyu Ajiwara, and he's surprised and asks if she came alone from Hokkaido. He asks when she left her home, and she says it's been 6 months. Then he asks if her parents knew she left, and she says no. She tells him it's okay because they were probably happy she left. Yoshida tells her she can't know that, and he asks how she plans to survive. She says she'll manage. Yoshida gets angry and tells her that she should work because all brats who drop out of school must work to survive. She tells him she can't afford rent with a part-time job, so he tells her she can live with him. Then, he wonders how she couldn't live a normal life by falling in love with just one guy, as Garu did. Yoshida tells her that her job will be to do chores around the house. She tells him that he's speaking as if she's going to stay there forever. So, he tells her that when she gets tired, she should run back to her own home. Yoshida realizes that she has been very spoiled, which is why she didn't know any other way to find a place to sleep than to offer her body. We see that they are now living together, but he says he underestimated how difficult it would be to live with her. We find ourselves in an office, and Yoshida talks to his colleague about what happened. His colleague tells him that it's dangerous and he can't just accommodate a teenager like that. On his way home at night, he wonders if she has eaten already when he remembers his colleague's advice not to get attached to her because her parents could cause problems. When he gets home, he sees that Seiyu has prepared a meal, and she welcomes him by saying, "Welcome, Dad." He tells her not to call him that because it makes him want to vomit. Yoshida gives her the food he brought, and then he sees that she has ironed all of his clothes. They have dinner together, and when their eyes meet, Yoshida gets nervous and asks where his ashtray is. She tells him that she washed it along with the dishes. He picks it up and goes to the balcony, but Seiyu asks him why he's going to smoke out there. He tells her he won't smoke if she's with him, and she, surprised, tells him that he's very kind. He says he's not kind, it's just that the people she used to associate with were trash. While he smokes, he says he can't help but act like her guardian. He realizes that the people who influenced her were simply garbage. The next morning, the alarm goes off. He apologizes because it's the weekend, but he forgot to turn off the alarm. She says it's okay because she wanted to do the laundry anyway. He tells her it's uncomfortable for her to walk around the house in her school uniform, but she tells him it's all she has. So he takes her to the mall and tells her to buy clothes and a futon so she won't have back pain. She blushes and says that if he does all that for her, she won't know how to repay him. He tells her that just doing the chores is enough because it makes the house feel more comfortable. They return home with her new futon, and she lies on it, saying it's very comfortable, and she'll sleep well now. She asks him if he wants to sleep with her, and he tells her to stop trying to seduce him. Seiyu laughs and tells him he's a pervert because she didn't say anything wrong, just that they should sleep together. Yoshida tells her she looks very cute when she laughs, and she asks why he was trying to seduce her, but he tells her she's not his type. So she relaxes and thanks him for the compliment. The next day, his colleague asks if he has a girlfriend. He says no. Then his colleague tells him that he seems better and more cheerful. He says that girls who run away from home are usually the most careless, but she is quite the opposite. As night falls, Yoshida says that physically, she's not his type, but she's not ugly. He asks why she ran away. The following day, we see Yoshida and Seiyu having breakfast together. She tells him he should shave, but he says he'll do it when he has more facial hair. Seiyu asks him why old people let their beards grow, making him want to shave as it makes him feel like he's turned into an old man. He tells her that when he turned 20, he used to worry about his beard growing because it was a symbol of aging. But in reality, it's when someone can't be bothered to shave that they have truly become old. So he decides to shave. Our protagonists continue with their shopping for beauty products for Seiyu. Yoshida buys her a perfume, and upon seeing how expensive it is, he comments that being a teenager is tough. He then suggests that she should have a cell phone so they can stay in contact, but she tells him that she's fine with the lotion he bought her, showing a beautiful smile. Yoshida wonders if she's genuinely smiling. They return to the house, tired from carrying all the bags. He tells her she can read all the books she wants, but not to tell him the parts he hasn't read. She seems overwhelmed, so Yoshida asks her what's wrong. She smiles and says it's nothing. This prompts our protagonist to tell her not to smile if she doesn't want to. Seiyu admits that she wanted to ask him why he was so kind, and she tells him that her fake smiles have become a habit. She takes his hand and tells him she wants him to be glad that they met. Yoshida laughs and says she's also very kind, and her dishes are quite delicious. The next day at the office, Yoshida calls a girl named Nishima, telling her that the code she wrote has many errors. She asks him if they'll fire her if they don't finish the code today. He tells her no, but he's responsible for her training. We see her making an extra effort and staying late into the night to finish it. When she's done, Yoshida surprises her with a delicious meal, which makes her very happy. She asks if he has any beer, and Yoshida gets angry, reminding her they are still in the office. She tells him he's very kind but always gets genuinely mad at her. He says it's because she never learns. Nishima asks if he shaves every day recently, and he says yes, asking what's so important. She shamelessly asks if he has a girlfriend, as there were rumors about it. He tells her no and reveals that he was actually rejected by Gato. Upon hearing this, she tells him she feels very lucky now and suggests they go out for a drink next time they meet. When Yoshida returns home, Seiyu asks him why he came home so late and tells him she's already prepared dinner. He apologizes, which makes Seiyu laugh, saying she's not upset. Then she offers him a beer and she starts reading manga. Yoshida realizes that it's necessary to have a cell phone to stay in touch with her. He then goes with his colleague to buy a cell phone, and his colleague tells him they should hurry because they might be late for work. Yoshida tells him he'll give the phone as a surprise. His colleague laughs, saying that he really likes Seiyu, and advises him to think carefully about how to treat her because if she falls in love with him, it could lead to problems. Yoshida says it's impossible because he likes older and busty women. Back at work, Yoshida is seen anxious, and his colleague tells him to calm down and mentions that he will give her the gift. Suddenly, Garu arrives and asks Yoshida if she can talk to him. He agrees, and they have a meal together at a restaurant. Garu eats and drinks a lot, and Yoshida comments on it. She says that's the good thing about being with him. She feels comfortable eating and drinking a lot. Then Garu asks him if he's nervous, and he says it's obvious to be nervous when the person who rejected you invites you to eat. She suggests they should ask each other questions to relax, and he agrees. Garu evades his question about why she invited him to eat and asks if he has a girlfriend. He says no, and she tells him he should stop lying because she knows him quite well. She also notes how he has been taking better care of his appearance and seems different. Garu then asks if Mishima is his girlfriend, but he assures her that she's not. He reveals that he has been in love with her for the 5 years they've been working together, even though she rejected him. He asks her why she was so intrigued about whether he was seeing someone when she rejected him anyway. Garu explains that if a guy confesses his love to her and then is with another girl, it's a bit annoying. Slightly irritated, he tells her he thought they would talk about something more important, and she laughs, saying she has one more question. Yoshida asks what cup size her bra is. She leans closer and whispers that it's a G cup. Later, he returns home, and Seiyu gets upset again that he arrived late. Seeing his expression, she asks if something bad happened, but he says no and then tells her that he went out with Garu. He mentions that he didn't enjoy it, and at that moment, she hugs him and advises him to relax. So he goes for a bath and then drinks the soup she prepared. After that, he gives her the gift he bought for her, and she opens the cell phone, thanking Yoshida. She suggests they exchange contacts and tells him that he's her only friend and that the phone is just for talking to him. Yoshida is glad that Seiyu has finally shown a genuine smile. We see Seiyu's memories where she was having relations with a guy who called her Miyuki. He asked her if she was enjoying it, and she replied yes, even though it was clear she was lying. Then she wakes up from that nightmare and looks at Yoshida. The next day, he leaves for work, but he notices that Seiyu has a strand of hair sticking up. She blushes, and he leaves while laughing. Later, Seiyu wonders why Yoshida doesn't want to touch her, saying that even though she's younger, he should at least have some desire. We then see Yoshida having lunch with Mishima. Suddenly, a guy arrives and tells our protagonist that he should take responsibility for rejecting a business trip because of him. He asks if Yoshida only liked Garu because now he's with Mishima. He questions if Yoshida really has a girlfriend, and he says no. The guy asks if he's still trying to court Garu, and Yoshida tells him that things are not going well. When he leaves, Mishima kicks Yoshida, telling him she's upset. In the afternoon, Mishima manages to finish all her tasks. Yoshida congratulates her, but she says he should take her to the movies. As they are leaving, Yoshida runs into Garu. When he leaves, she blushes. Meanwhile, Seiyu is bored at home, wondering if she can really continue living there, thinking that just like other men, Yoshida will kick her out when he gets a girlfriend. The phone rings, and it's a message from Yoshida saying that he's going to the movies. Curious, Seiyu decides to see who Yoshida is going out with. We see Yoshida and Mishima leaving the movie theater, talking about the film. Mishima keeps dropping hints for Yoshida to be with her. Seiyu is seen running down the street trying to find them. Mishima hugs Yoshida, and Seiyu manages to spot them. She leaves disappointed and sad. Yoshida pushes her away, and Mishima goes to her home, thanking him for going to the movies with her. Mishima asks him what he would do if she were his predestined love. He tells her to leave. Later, as he walks, he wonders if Seiyu was looking for her predestined love that day. When he gets home and doesn't see Seiyu, he rushes to find her. But Seiyu is crying on a bench, saying that she's jealous and feeling like a fool. Mishima arrives, telling her that if she's lost, she can call the police. Seeing that Seiyu isn't reacting, she sits next to her, saying that she'll stay until the next train arrives. Mishima asks her why she left her home, wondering if she had a fight with her parents. Seiyu replies that no, they got along well. However, there must be a reason for someone to be kind, and she thinks that kindness shouldn't be given just because. She explains that the person she lives with is very kind, and she's afraid he'll get rid of her if she doesn't give something in return. Mishima tells her not to be afraid and that if she fails in some way, she'll learn something. She also says that if that person she mentioned is so kind, she shouldn't be afraid. At that moment, Yoshida arrives and scolds Seiyu, telling her she should have a good excuse. Mishima asks if Seiyu is his daughter, and Yoshida says no. She says he'll have to explain everything later and goes to her home. When Yoshida and Seiyu get back home, Seiyu is in her underwear. He asks her what she's doing and tells her to get dressed. But she says that even if he doesn't think the same way, she's still a girl. She approaches him, trying to seduce him and asking if he wants to have sex with her. At that moment, he tells her that he had already told her that if she tried to seduce him, he would kick her out of the house. She asks him with fear if it's true that he doesn't want to have sex with her, touching his private parts and asking if he's really not turned on. He tells her that, of course, he is, but he also says she should let go immediately. Seiyu thinks that might be a good way to make him feel better, saying that she initially hated doing that, but it was the only way for someone to give her a place to stay. She begs him to please have sex with her, and he hugs her and tells her no. Even though she's a beautiful girl, he's not in love with her, and he tells her he will never sleep with someone he's not in love with. She gets dressed, and he thanks her for everything she has done for him, saying that his home is now a welcoming place, all thanks to her. She bursts into tears of emotion and tells him that they both look pathetic. The following day, Seiyu asks Yoshida to let her work, and he tells her she doesn't need to dress so formally to ask for it. Then he asks her if she already knows a place where she can work, and she tells him yes, at a small market near their home. So he tells her it's okay and to try to make some friends. Seiyu is finally at her job, and we see a blonde girl surprised that she graduated so young, saying, "You're the best, Seiyu-chan." The girl teaches Seiyu how to work, and Seiyu thanks her. Seeing this, the girl tells her to stop being so formal and to call her Asami. The evening comes, and Seiyu finishes work. Asami asks Seiyu where she lives, and when Seiyu replies, Asami tells her that she also lives there, and they might be neighbors. Asami asks if she lives with her boyfriend, and Seiyu tells her no, they're like siblings. Then Asami realizes he's not her real brother and tells her it's a little sketchy. She tells Seiyu she'll visit her today. After that, Yoshida reads his phone and is surprised to read that Seiyu wrote she should introduce herself as her big brother. Just then, Mishima arrives, asking what she was hiding the day before. Yoshida simply avoids the question. We see Garu looking a bit concerned as Mishima talks to Yoshida. In the evening, Yoshida arrives home and finds Seiyu with Asami. Asami says Yoshida is old, but it's not that bad. Seiyu tells her she didn't know they played together. Asami asks Yoshida if he can cook, and he replies that he normally doesn't and that Seiyu takes care of that. Upon hearing that, Asami asks him how he managed to have someone as cute as Seiyu in his life. At that moment, he starts thinking about something and appears worried. Just when Seiyu is about to speak, Asami interjects and tells Yoshida that he better not lie. Uncomfortable and sad, Yoshida tells her he's Seiyu's big brother. Asami realizes it's a lie, but he tells her he can't say something that might make Seiyu uncomfortable. Asami is surprised and tells him he's a good guy, and she's happy that Seiyu ended up in good hands. She decides to go home alone. Before leaving, Yoshida asks her to please take care of Seiyu. Asami laughs and tells him it sounds like he's her father and asks him to take care of Seiyu because she knows how to use her smile. Then she leaves. We see Yoshida working overtime. Suddenly, Garu arrives and asks if he's leaving already. As they leave together, we see Mishima watching them with a coffee in her hand. Yoshida goes to a restaurant with Garu and notifies Seiyu. However, he remembers what Asami said about Seiyu being good at using her smiles and becomes concerned. Garu is worried about Yoshida, telling him that he never used his phone at work before, but now he's very attentive. She asks if he has someone. He replies that before answering, she should ask something, and he questions why it bothers her. Garu then tells Yoshida that she is in love with him. Seiyu reads the message that Yoshida is going out with Garu and feels sad but tells him to have a good time. Later, in the restaurant, Yoshida shouts, telling Garu that she had a boyfriend 5 years ago. She says it was all a lie. Garu tells him that when he confessed to her, she was happy, but she thought it wasn't the right time. She believed that if she accepted to be with him, everything would go wrong. Yoshida tells her he can't believe her and to stop playing with him. She says it's not a game. He tells her that if it's not a game, then she should sleep with him. At that moment, Garu tells him that she's still a virgin. Yoshida chokes on his beer upon hearing this and apologizes to Garu for being so foolish. She tells Yoshida that she really likes him, and if he wants to, they can do it, she wouldn't have a problem with it. He tells her that it's just a joke. Then he tells her that he'll wait for her, and when she's ready, she'll have to confess to him. He says that it's really painful when the person you like plays with your feelings, so that would be her test. Then Garu tells him that now he has to answer the question. Here, we see Seiyu eating alone, delighted by how delicious the food is. But when everything seems fine, she has a flashback from her past and rushes to the bathroom to vomit. At that moment, she receives a message from Yoshida, telling her he will take Garu home. Upon reading this, Seiyu falls to the floor, feeling sad and thinking that she'll be pushed aside. She then tells Yoshida she'll sleep elsewhere, but he says she can't because Garu will meet her. When Yoshida and Garu are riding the train, she asks him if he's living with an underage girl. He replies yes and tells her they met when she ran away from home several months ago. She asks if it's a boy or a girl, and he questions why she wants to know. Garu then tells him that what he's doing is illegal. When they arrive home, Garu greets Seiyu and asks if she wants some snacks. Later, the three of them are eating snacks, but it's clear that Seiyu feels uncomfortable. Garu asks Seiyu if Yoshida has done anything bad to her. Seiyu quickly replies that he hasn't. While Garu laughs with Yoshida, Seiyu appears a bit sad. Garu asks her what's wrong, but Seiyu evades the question with a smile, saying that nothing is wrong. In this awkward moment, Yoshida goes to the bathroom. Garu tells Seiyu that she'd like to have a private conversation with her, and for her to ask any questions she wants. When Yoshida comes out of the bathroom, Seiyu asks Yoshida if she can go out to buy some things. He asks her if she'll be okay alone with Garu, and Seiyu says yes. They sit down to talk, and Garu asks her where she lives and when she left her home. Seiyu replies that she's from Hokkaido, and she ran away 6 months ago. When Garu asks why she left, Seiyu tells her she can't say. Garu understands but, at the same time, asks how long Seiyu plans to stay with Yoshida. Then we see our protagonist going shopping when he unexpectedly runs into Mishima. She asks him what he's doing out of the house at this hour, and he tells her he's buying breakfast items. She cleverly asks if she can accompany him, and he appears a bit confused. Back to Garu and Seiyu, we see that Seiyu hasn't answered how long she intends to stay. So Garu tells her it's no problem if she stays with Yoshida, but it's not right because society would view them negatively. Seiyu thanks her, saying she was waiting for someone to tell her to stop running away. When Seiyu reveals that she used her body to have a place to stay, Garu is appalled. This is when Seiyu tells her how wonderful Yoshida is. Garu says she's happy that Seiyu finally has a place to stay. Garu places her hands on top of Seiyu's, telling her to think things through. It's then that Seiyu opens up, saying she has a horrible past she wanted to escape from, and just imagining it made her feel like vomiting. Garu hugs her and tells her to enjoy her adolescence even though she won't go to high school. These words make Seiyu cry a lot while hugging Garu. After Yoshida finishes shopping, he says goodbye to Mishima, but she asks him if he could sleep with her tonight. Confused, he says no, and she becomes indignant, asking why Garu was allowed to stay. After saying that out loud, she feels bad and apologizes to Yoshida. Seiyu asks Garu if she likes Yoshida. Upon hearing that, Garu laughs at how serious Seiyu became and tells her that she does like him and that she also only had eyes for him. Seiyu is happy and says she would like Yoshida to be happy with someone he loves. Mishima continues to make a scene of jealousy with Yoshida, questioning how his priorities work. She doesn't know if it's her, Garu, or Seiyu who is the priority. Seiyu goes to work but realizes that there's someone named Kyoya Yaguchi working there. This name sounds familiar to her. Suddenly, she remembers that this person is the guy she had a sexual relationship with before. Seeing him, she tells him he's confusing her, but he says he doesn't forget people he's been with. At that moment, Asami enters and asks Yaguchi if he knows Seiyu. When she's about to respond, Seiyu shouts that he's mistaken. However, Asami kicks him and tells him to get to work. Seiyu is about to tell Asami what happened, but Asami says it's not necessary unless she wants to share. She then affectionately strokes Seiyu's head. After finishing work, Seiyu encounters Yaguchi again. He asks her if she's still running away from home. She decides to leave, but as she's going, Yaguchi grabs her arm and tells her to tell him where she's staying. She doesn't tell him. Then he threatens to tell Asami and their bosses unless she takes him home. Seiyu reveals their address but makes him promise not to do anything strange. Seiyu arrives home with Yaguchi. He asks her how long she has been living there. Seiyu tells him it's been 2 months, which surprises Yaguchi. He then asks if she's also having a sexual relationship with him. She says no, but he forces himself on her. She cries and wonders why she let that guy in. When she lets him touch her to avoid causing trouble, Yoshida arrives, and he quickly removes the guy from the house. Yoshida asks who the guy was, and he answers that his name is Yaguchi and that Seiyu stayed with him a few months ago. Hearing this, Yoshida gets angry. Yaguchi taunts him, asking if he plans to keep her forever. Yoshida tells him he won't be like the scumbags who took her in. He warns Yaguchi not to attempt anything with Seiyu. Yaguchi says that just thinking about someone like him won't excite him anymore and promises not to do anything. Yoshida enters the house to console Seiyu. She tells him she had sexual relationships with Yaguchi before many times. She also says she was very scared of doing it again. Yoshida hugs and comforts her, but she worries that if she tells others, they will call the police and Yoshida will get into trouble. He tells her he doesn't care about that, he just wants her to do what's right, and he must protect her. He says he wants her to be a normal high school girl, and to value herself more. She agrees to try. The next day, Asami asks Seiyu if something happened with Yaguchi. She says no and smiles. Asami gets angry and goes to look for Yaguchi, asking him if he did anything to Seiyu. He confesses everything he did, and Asami slaps him, telling him to apologize to Seiyu. Asami goes back to attend to a customer, and Yaguchi apologizes to Seiyu for what happened yesterday. But she asks why he didn't tell Asami about his past. He says that because she took him to her house, he didn't want to reveal anything about his past. Then he leaves, and we see Seiyu happy that Asami and Yoshida defended her. After work, Asami decides to stay at Yoshida's house to protect Seiyu. After notifying Yoshida via phone, he agrees, and they plan to spend the night together. Asami leaves her house, and Seiyu tells her that her house is very big. Asami explains that's because her father is a politician, and her mother is a lawyer. As night falls, they are in a park looking at the stars. Seiyu is amazed by the views. Asami tells her that since her parents didn't have much time, she tried to seek their attention whenever possible. She also shares that she doesn't want to become a lawyer like her mother but aspires to be a writer. Asami holds Seiyu's hand, telling her that she, too, has a future and a story. Everything happening to her has a purpose. Seiyu listens to this and cries, hugging Asami. Asami and Seiyu are at work when Asami asks Seiyu if Yoshida replied to the message where she asked if she could stay overnight. Yoshida responds that he did but mentions that she's staying too frequently. Asami says it's fine since it's vacation time. Just then, they notice a man in a black car parked outside. Asami finds it strange because the car always stops in front of the market, but the driver never gets out to buy anything. Seiyu recognizes this person. They are both at Yoshida's house reading books. Asami seems frustrated as she can't understand them, but she believes it's what her future depends on. Seiyu recalls telling Yoshida that thanks to him, she can now think about a future where she doesn't have to run away. She asks Yoshida if she can stay a bit longer. As she contemplates returning to her home with her parents, Asami asks if something is bothering her. Seiyu, however, just replies that she's thinking about what to cook today. Yoshida is at work when he receives a message. He smiles, making Miss Hima jealous. Just then, Garu arrives, seductively approaching Yoshida. Miss Hima, driven by jealousy, approaches Garu and asks if she wants to have lunch with her. While having lunch together, Garu asks Miss Hima if she has something to say about Yoshida. Miss Hima observes that Yoshida has become more attentive, and that he looks different. She then inquires if Garu isn't afraid that Seiyu might take Yoshida away. Garu laughs and says that you can't force love, even if others intervene. Two people in love will find a way to be together. Miss Hima concludes that there's no point in making an effort, but Garu tells her otherwise. Miss Hima asks what she would do if Yoshida gets tired of her one day. She slams her hand on the table and asserts that she won't miss the chance to get what she wants. Garu yells at her to lower her voice. Miss Hima questions if Garu likes Yoshida because she allows Seiyu to be so close to him. Garu replies that she lets Seiyu be with him because she cares about him. Miss Hima finds this strange and creepy. After work, Miss Hima asks Yoshida if they can go to the movies. He says he can't because he has a festival to attend. She gets angry but requests his phone number since Seiyu and Garu have it. He agrees but asks why she wants his number if they have nothing to talk about. He suggests she talk to someone with more interesting conversations as he won't respond to pointless messages. Miss Hima gets mad and tells him to stop pretending to do good for others and do something he genuinely enjoys. She tells him to imagine how it feels to have someone take his phone and force him to give them his number. He asks her why she wants it, to which she responds that she's in love with him. She then sends a message to his phone, inviting him to the movies again, and he responds with a yes. She laughs and tells him he's as honest as a child. Afterward, she leaves. Night falls, and our protagonist has dinner with Seiyu. He thinks about everything Miss Hima told him, realizing that he only did things to make Seiyu happy. The day begins, and Seiyu quickly cleans the windows. Yoshida asks why she's more motivated than usual. She explains that because he has been so busy with work, she wanted to help. He offers to help and takes the wet futon outside. She tells him he doesn't have to help since it's his day off, and she pushes him onto the bed. However, in the process, she falls on top of Yoshida, and he blushes, telling her that she placed the wet cloth on his shoulder. She apologizes and says she'll wash it immediately. Then she suggests he takes a shower since he's disheveled. He declines but eventually agrees. While Yoshida is in the shower, Seiyu sees a box and asks if she can open it. He gives her permission, and she looks through his high school yearbook, discovering he was bald in the past. She comes across a photo of him with a girl and asks if she was his girlfriend. He confirms it, saying she was the best of all. Seiyu comments that she likes older girls like Garu. He explains that the most important thing when being with someone is to make them smile and be happy. When Seiyu is about to share her feelings, she notices Yoshida smoking. She tells him he shouldn't smoke, and he removes the cigarette, laughing. This makes Seiyu blush. We return to Seiyu's workplace, where she's left alone with Yaguchi. He mentions the luxurious car again, but this time, it seems the driver was going to buy something. When the man gets out of the car, Seiyu gets scared and crouches down. Yaguchi asks her if she knows him, and she confirms that she does. Seeing her fear, he tells her to go back to the office. The man in the suit introduces himself as Issa Ajiwara and mentions that he was looking for Seiyu. Asami notices that Seiyu is worried and tells her that he is her brother. Seiyu explains that she doesn't feel safe returning home, but Yaguchi assures her that her brother has already left. However, he reminds her that she doesn't have much time left to stay where she is as they are looking for her. Realizing this, she knows she will have to go home sooner than she thought. When she leaves a supermarket, someone grabs her by the shoulders, but it turns out to be Mishima, who was there shopping. At that moment, Seiyu spots someone and hides behind Mishima. It's Seiyu's brother, who seems to be with more people. Mishima takes Seiyu to a karaoke, and Seiyu thinks she should tell Yoshida what's happening, but she doesn't know how to say it. Mishima composes a message to Yoshida, saying they are having a great time at the karaoke. Yoshida reads the message and is surprised that they are having a great time. After Mishima sings, she tells Seiyu she should also sing, but Seiyu says she doesn't know many songs, and it seems that karaoke is not popular among young people. Mishima asks if Seiyu ran away because she committed a crime, and Seiyu replies that she didn't. Mishima tries to console her and tells her not to tell if she doesn't feel comfortable. She is surprised that Seiyu continues shopping as if nothing is happening, even though someone is pursuing her. Seiyu explains that it's the only way she can live with Yoshida because it's her job. Mishima tells her she doesn't need to do it if her life is in danger, and Yoshida would understand. She then asks if Seiyu is in love with Yoshida, but Seiyu doesn't respond. Suddenly, the doorbell rings, and it's Yoshida. He asks them why they were at the karaoke, and Mishima says it's because they bumped into each other on the street and decided to go there. Seeing how Yoshida treats Seiyu makes Mishima very jealous. Yoshida asks if Mishima wants to have dinner with them, but she declines, saying she'll stay a bit longer at the karaoke. Yoshida says goodbye and leaves, and we see Mishima fall to the floor crying because Yoshida doesn't treat her the same way he does when he's with Seiyu. As they walk down the street, Seiyu asks Yoshida if he'd like to go somewhere with her. Just as they see a sign advertising the summer festival, he asks her if she'd like to go there together, and she hesitates for a moment but then accepts. We then see Yoshida walking with Seiyu, who is already dressed in festival clothing. She tells him she never had friends to go to the festival with, so she wasn't excited about it, but she really wanted to go with him. Upon arrival, she notices that Yoshida isn't looking at her, so she asks him to look at her and inquires how she looks in her clothes. He replies that she looks very pretty. Then she asks if she looks better than Gadu, but he doesn't hear her. Some children walk by with cotton candy, and Yoshida asks if she wants one, to which she quickly responds with a yes because she was never allowed to have one as a child. As they were about to buy the cotton candy, Seiyu takes out money to pay, but Yoshida decides to pay for it. She gets excited about how it melts in her mouth so easily, and Yoshida laughs, telling her it's because it's sugar. She thanks him and says she never would have tried it without him, so to show her appreciation, she puts a piece of cotton candy in his mouth. Suddenly, a child bumps into Seiyu, and as she's about to fall, Yoshida grabs her hand. They start watching the fireworks while holding hands. She says it's the first time she's seen something like this. As they watch the fireworks, Yoshida thinks that he wouldn't have gone to the festival without her. He remembers his life before Seiyu, and when he returns to the present, Seiyu is no longer there. He yells, trying to find her, and she appears and asks him what's wrong because she had told him she was going to take out the trash. It's clear that Yoshida is growing very fond of her. She asks him if he would get so nervous if she disappeared, and he says he would. He tells her he was scared when she disappeared, and she apologizes. He asks her if she will really return to her home, but Seiyu can't hear him clearly. The fireworks end, and people head home. Seiyu reveals that to everyone she meets, she gives a different fake name, but when Yoshida asked her name, she gave her real one without any hesitation. They look at each other intensely, and she asks if he doesn't want her to go back home. Then Yoshida grabs her head and tells her that she will have to go back at some point, so they head home. The next day, someone rings the doorbell. Yoshida wakes up, wondering who it could be, and when he opens the door, it's Seiyu's brother. He tells Yoshida that he has come to take Seiyu back home. Upon hearing this, Seiyu says she's not ready to go back, Issa tells her to stop being so childish and asks what she would do if the person who's hosting her has malicious intentions. Seiyu says that Yoshida is a good person and would never do anything wrong. He tells her that adults can pretend to be good, which angers her, and she tells him to stop using Yoshida's name to scold her as if he were a bad person. The three of them have a meeting together to discuss Seiyu's situation. Issa asks if there's any improper relationship between the two of them, but both quickly deny it. Upon hearing this, Issa thanks Yoshida for taking care of Seiyu, saying he was worried she might be in a dangerous place. Then he tells Seiyu that her mother is worried about her. Seiyu immediately screams, calling that a lie, and asks him to tell her the truth. Issa says that many people came to the house after she left, but her mother didn't want to talk to anyone, so the school thought they had kidnapped her. Seiyu says that they just want her to clear up the misunderstanding, and Yoshida adds that they only care about her reputation, not her feelings. He responds that it's not that simple but admits that they didn't seriously consider her feelings. Then he says that her mother will do everything she can to get her back as soon as possible. Yoshida asks for a few more days and if he could postpone it since Seiyu needed time to think. Issa agrees but asks to speak with Seiyu alone and promises not to take her away. Seiyu changes into different clothes and hugs Yoshida, telling him that she feels scared but also peaceful when she's with him. Seiyu gets into the car with Issa, who tells her that he was really scared for her safety, but he now realizes that Yoshida is a good person who only wants to see her happy. He also mentions that her mother will call soon since she always calls to see if they've found her. He explains that her mother is not doing well, and her situation has only worsened since she left. Seiyu shares that she ran away because she was suffering, and she also suffered a lot when she arrived at the place she ran to. However, when she came to Yoshida's place, she felt better. She tells him that she doesn't want to go home until she knows the reason she's there. He tells her it's okay, and it's clear she's changed a bit since she's more straightforward now. He gives her a week to think it through calmly, and she thanks him. Asami arrives at Yoshida's house and rings the doorbell. Seiyu tells her what happened, and Asami says she will miss her a lot. With only 1 week left, Seiyu decides to tell them her whole story and why she ran away. She mentions that she never got along with her mother, and even in high school, nothing motivated her, and people avoided her. However, there was one girl who did talk to her, and they became friends. This girl's name was Yuyuko, and she didn't fit in at school either, but they were good friends. Seiyu explains that being with Yuyuko allowed her to smile and be happy for a moment. However, a group of girls began to bully Yuyuko. They ask if Yuyuko had rejected a confession from a boy on the basketball team, and Seiyu says she did. Yuyuko tells her that the girl who bullied her was in love with him, which is why they did that. Yuyuko says she was beaten up because she was ugly, and since Seiyu was pretty, they wouldn't do anything to her no matter how much they hated her. Seiyu cried and was furious that her friend was being bullied because of her. While passing the bathroom, she overheard the girls laughing at Yuyuko, and when she entered, she found Yuyuko soaked with toilet water. She told Yuyuko they should stand up together. The next day, she went up to the roof as usual, but Yuyuko was on the other side of the railing, waiting for her. Yuyuko told Seiyu she had been waiting for her and that she thought she was very pretty the first time she saw her, but she was naive to approach her. Yuyuko says it's because she associated with an introvert that they make fun of her, calling her pretty and capable of shining even more. She expresses her guilt about not being able to make Yuyuko smile, and jumps off the building, taking her own life. As a result, many reporters went to Seiyu's house, believing it was her fault. When Seiyu came downstairs, her mother blamed her and told her to stop causing trouble. Her mother asked Seiyu if she killed her, and Seiyu responded by telling her to go to hell, and that Yuyuko was her best friend. Seiyu left her home, and while she was leaving, she ran into Issa, who asked what had happened. She shared her story with him, and he believed that the best decision was for her to stay away from her mother for a while. He took her to a station and gave her 300,000 yen, telling her it would last about 6 months if she didn't indulge too much. He reassured her and told her not to suffer anymore for a while. Unintentionally, she spent all her money and tossed the cell phone her brother gave her. At that moment, she met a man who let her stay at his place for the night. They thought they were good people at first, but they all started to desire her. Yoshida and Asami, upon hearing this, are shocked. Asami hugs her, but Yoshida seems angry about everything Seiyu has been through. Asami asks Yoshida if he will let her go, and he says he can't do anything because, in the end, he's just a stranger, so he decides not to interfere. The next day, we see Yoshida talking to his coworkers, telling them that Seiyu will be going back home. Yoshida looks devastated inside and tells them that she ran away from home. But it wasn't her parents' fault, it was something else. As night falls, Yoshida walks home and suddenly sees Issa apologizing to him. They sit on a bench in the square, and Issa asks Yoshida to forgive him for being rude the other day. Yoshida tells him there's no need to apologize. Issa asks why Yoshida was so kind to Seiyu. Yoshida says that when he met her, he was very drunk, so he probably found her pretty at first. Issa laughs and tells him he's very honest. Issa tells Yoshida that Seiyu's father owned Ajiwara Food, but he was a womanizer. When Seiyu's mother became pregnant with Seiyu, her father left her for another woman and wanted her to have an abortion. But she refused, thinking it would be the only way to make him stay. This is why Seiyu's mother hates her so much. Issa tells Yoshida that, in a way, he has now become a father figure to her, and he thanks him for that. Yoshida returns home with Seiyu, and she asks what he talked about with her brother. He tells her and then says it's clear that Issa cares a lot about her. She acknowledges that she knows she has to go back, but she wanted to keep living with him. The next day at work, Mishima sees Yoshida talking to a colleague and appears a little sad. We see Seiyu give Yoshida a magazine with many dishes for him to prepare when she's gone. It seems that Yoshida is taking care of his appearance again, as he had consumed many beer cans before saying he would smoke. Seiyu asks Yoshida to go to a place at a certain time. When they arrive, it becomes clear that the place is the one Asami showed her, and Seiyu wanted them to see the stars together. She tells him that looking at the stars and thinking about the future makes her feel relieved. She says that thanks to everything she's been through, she will have a good story to tell. She gets up and tells him that the best thing about running away from home is getting to know him. She admits that she has tried to leave many times during the week when he wasn't around but couldn't do it. And even though she wants to stay with him, she knows she shouldn't. She says she wants to prove to everyone that her life has improved a lot thanks to him. Seiyu takes Yoshida's hand and amidst many tears, she tells him to wish her luck. There's only one day left for Seiyu to return to her parents. Yoshida plans to leave work early to spend the last few minutes with Seiyu. Mishima tells him he should accompany her to see her mother, but he says it wouldn't be a good idea. However, she insists that Seiyu should face that problem with him. Asami calls Yoshida to ask if he knows where Seiyu is because she wasn't answering her phone. He tries to call her, but she doesn't pick up. He doesn't want to leave work because it's very important, but his coworker tells him they should leave, and Mishima will handle the rest. They both drive to find Seiyu, and we see Yoshida looking worried and sad. His friend becomes angry with him, asking how he could care about his job at a time like this. Yoshida says there's nothing he can do, and his friend tells him to think if Seiyu would be happy going back home by herself. He also says it would be irresponsible to leave her alone. Garu calls Yoshida, and it turns out she found Seiyu. When Yoshida gets out of the car, he asks why on earth she did that, and she apologizes. Garu tells her that apparently, Seiyu wanted to see where he worked, so they would be going back home together. Seiyu apologizes to Garu and Asami for scaring them. They say goodbye and wish her well at home. As night falls, Yoshida and Seiyu can't sleep. She asks Yoshida if she can sleep with him, and he says it's okay just for this time. Seiyu tells him that even though they've been living together for a long time, it's the first time they've slept together. She hugs him and snuggles close, asking if he would have been a better father to her. Just the thought of leaving Yoshida makes Seiyu sad, but he holds her head and tells her that he will accompany her on the trip to see her mother. She gets excited and hugs him, thanking him for everything. In the morning, Seiyu already had all her suitcases packed to go to her mother's house. Asami says her goodbyes and tells her to take care. While they are on the plane, Issa tells Seiyu that he didn't expect him to go with them. It was surprising that he had requested time off from work just to go with them. He says he has to accompany Seiyu to make her happy. Issa mentions he's not sure how their mother will react, but he hopes everything will be fine if she sees Seiyu happy. Seiyu wakes up and asks if he's really going to accompany her, to which Yoshida responds yes, as the plane had already taken off. Both of them are having a good time, trying out the seats and looking at the plane's shadow on the clouds. When they arrive at their destination, Issa tells them they will drive to Sapporo. Yoshida, puzzled, asks if they don't live in Asahikawa. Issa explains they first have to stop by a company branch. Seiyu and Yoshida are enjoying coffee at an elegant place. They are surprised to find such a nice cafe. Seiyu tells Yoshida that she had never been to one before. Apparently, Seiyu didn't have much experience with anything outside of her home. Yoshida orders coffee, and Seiyu chooses green tea with milk. Laughing, Seiyu looks out the window and sees some girls. This reminds her of Yuyuko, and she tells Yoshida that if she didn't return home quickly after school, her mother would get very angry. She wasn't allowed to go out on her days off either, so she never imagined going to a cafe. Going to a cafe with Yoshida was a special moment for her. Yoshida asks Seiyu if she's not afraid of going back. She says, of course, she is, and that's why she's with him. The drinks arrive, and Seiyu is delighted by how delicious the tea is. In the car, Issa asks Seiyu if she wants to go straight to her house or if they can make a detour. She says she first wants to stop by her old high school. When they arrive there, she says she wants to go to a specific place with Yoshida, as going alone frightened her. They have to circle the school because, even though it doesn't have good security, it has cameras that could spot them. They sneak in through a gap in the fence and enter the school. Seiyu says it's creepy. When she sees some stairs, she freezes and hugs Yoshida, but she still wants to go upstairs to the rooftop. When they get there, the rooftop door is closed. Seiyu decides to climb out of a window. Yoshida realizes this was where Yuyuko took her own life. She is very scared and trembling, but Yoshida helps her. As she walks to the spot, Seiyu remembers Yuyuko more and more but tells Yoshida that she's okay. Seiyu runs to the edge and wonders why they didn't install a railing before the incident. While regretting it, she cuts her hand, and Yoshida holds it, telling her it wasn't her fault. She says it was because she was bullied because of her. He tells her they were friends who loved each other, so no one was to blame for anything. Seiyu asks why Yuyuko didn't choose to stay alive with her if she loved her. Yoshida says people make mistakes, and she shouldn't blame herself for it. He becomes sad and asks if Yuyuko didn't tell her to smile all the time. Seiyu thanks Yoshida for coming with her and says goodbye to Yuyuko. Then she says she'll become stronger until one day she can think of Yuyuko without feeling sad or bad. They return to the car and head back to her mother's house. When she enters, her mother slaps her across the face quickly. Seeing her being slapped, Yoshida gets angry. Seiyu's mother yells at her, blaming her for the rumors about their family. Issa tells his mother to calm down because they have visitors. He introduces Yoshida as the person who took care of Seiyu. The mother, incredulous, leaves. Later, Seiyu is about to enter the dining room, but it's clear she doesn't want to. The four of them are gathered there. Seiyu's mother starts asking uncomfortable questions. She asks Seiyu if she remembers what she told her when she left, to which Seiyu says she doesn't. She says she knew it. She knew Seiyu didn't care at all about how she felt. She laughs and asks if she had fun running away from home. Seiyu screams and says she didn't run away from home. She just wanted to get away from her because she would never forgive her for assuming she best friend. Her mother shows that she doesn't care and asks her why she would run away if she was just a brat. And brats don't do well in the world. Yoshida thinks that Seiyu's mother is the worst. She exclaims that he even brings a complete stranger to her house, telling her to stop embarrassing her. Yoshida tells her he knows that having Seiyu at his house was a crime. Then her mother says he's just a filthy criminal. Seiyu pounds the table, saying that she always belittles people who care about her. She tells her that Yoshida took care of her and loved her the whole time she was with him and that, despite the horrible things that happened, he was the only person who managed to save her. She tells her that he treated her like she was part of his family, not like her. Her mother screams and pounds everything, telling her she doesn't know how much she has suffered since she left. She says, honestly, I should have never given birth to you, and this makes Seiyu cry. Yoshida is about to throw a glass of juice at her, but he decides not to and calms down. Everything falls silent, and then he asks her to please calm down. Yoshida says he was very angry but also calm. He asks himself if a child of divorced parents should suffer that way. After that, he talks to her mother, telling her that even though she doesn't love her daughter, Seiyu doesn't love her either. However, she is the only real mother Seiyu has. He tells her he would gladly raise Seiyu, but he can't because he knew that responsibility wasn't his. He tells her to please take care of Seiyu. She is the only one who should do it. He stands up and goes to her mother's side. He kneels down and asks her to please take care of her. When Issa sees this, he also kneels down and asks her to take care of her, please. Seeing this, the mother cries and tells them to leave. Issa decides to take charge of his mother, asking her to please leave. Suddenly, night falls. Seiyu sees Yoshida crying, and she asks him what's wrong. He tells her that when he told her about everything that happened in his life, he imagined what her mother was like. But when she said she never should have given birth to her, he understood that she had suffered much more than he thought. He tells her she should confront her mother and get angry. Seiyu admits that she was going to get angry, but he beat her to it. They watch the stars, and Seiyu tells Yoshida that when he knelt down, she thought her mother had forgiven her, but it was all in vain. She holds his hand and thanks him for everything he has done for her, saying that thanks to him, even if she's alone, she'll be able to stand on her own 2 feet. Issa arrives and says he was able to talk to her mother. He says that Seiyu should stay until she graduates from high school. As long as she doesn't cause trouble, her mother won't scold her. He realizes that thanks to Yoshida, Seiyu has returned a bit more mature. Both look at Yoshida and thank him for everything he has done. He doesn't feel thankful at all because he only did what any adult should do. Then he bows his head and asks if he can speak with her mother again. Surprised, Issa allows him without hesitation. Yoshida is with her mother and apologizes for being disrespectful. Then she asks him if he really never laid a hand on her. He tells her no. Then she says that as soon as it's dawn, he should go back to Tokyo. Yoshida leaves the room. It seems that Seiyu also wants to talk to her mother, so he encourages her to do so. She enters, and her mother asks her what she intended. Seiyu bows down, apologizing for causing her trouble, and admitting that she had accumulated hatred for her, and that's why she was apologizing for all the trouble she caused. Seeing this, her mother says she should apologize for treating her like that. Yoshida's words touched her heart. She realizes that she really is the only father figure she has, so she asks her to finish high school, and when she does, she can do whatever she wants. She leaves the room, happy because she finally had a mother-daughter conversation. Yoshida looks happy to hear this, and he realizes that his job there is done. He doesn't have anything else to do, so he goes to bed, waiting for dawn to return to Tokyo. While he's lying down, someone enters the room. It's Seiyu. She gets into bed with him, telling him that since it's the last time, they can sleep together. She presses her fists against Yoshida, and he tells her that just because it's the last time they'll see each other doesn't mean she can do that. Seiyu tells him it will be hard to be apart from him, but Yoshida knows she'll be fine with her brother. Seiyu admits she was very happy when she was doing housework. Lego asks him to turn around and asks if he doesn't want to have a physical relationship with her since it's the last time they'll see each other. Surprised, he gets up and tells her that even if they don't have a physical relationship, he'll never forget her because they are two people who live together without being lovers or family. She's happy to hear this and hugs him. Yoshida tells her she's a crybaby, and she laughs. Then Seiyu asks him if, since they're here, at least he could touch her breasts. After that, she goes to sleep. Issa and Seiyu take Yoshida to the airport. He asks Seiyu to leave him alone with Yoshida for a while. He thanks him and gives him money for the return ticket to Tokyo, but Yoshida doesn't accept it and tells him to use the money to buy new clothes for Seiyu. Issa laughs and tells him it's okay, and that he's welcome to come back anytime to see Seiyu. Issa asks him if he's in love with Seiyu, and he says no, and that he's attracted to older people. Issa thanks him again and tells Yoshida that he's surely learned a lot from Seiyu and that it has been beneficial for him. Yoshida talks to Seiyu and asks her why she's wearing a school uniform. She tells him it's a surprise. Suddenly, it's time for them to say goodbye. She asks him to do the housework even if she's not with him anymore. When he leaves, she tells him she's glad she ran away because thanks to that, she met him. That's why she put on the uniform so he would remember the first time they met. Then Seiyu tells Yoshida that she's in love with him. He blushes but says he can't see her in that way, so she asks him if, when she grows up, they could be together. He says he doesn't know, anything could happen. She wants him to wait for her until she grows up, but he says he'll become a decrepit old man if he waits too long. When she becomes an adult, she should think things through. She says that even if he doesn't wait for her, she's sure she'll come looking for him again. We see a sad farewell between two people who loved each other. Issa asks Seiyu if she managed to say everything she wanted, but she says no because it's not the end. Yoshida returns to his house saying, "I'm back." He then goes into his room and sees a t-shirt that belonged to Seiyu. She left it there for him to remember her scent. He gets up and starts cooking but realizes the food is terrible. He says he misses the miso soup Seiyu used to make. Then he bursts into tears and falls to the floor, saying he's not okay. 2 years have passed since then, and at work, Mishima tells him that she has completed Yoshida's project. She's happy that the 2 years she spent training Mishima have borne fruit. She thanks him but says she'll leave any problems to Yoshida. Gato arrives and invites the three of them to have dinner. She tells Yoshida that he'll go some other time, and Mishima also suggests going out with her another day. He leaves work and meets Gato to look at the stars. Suddenly, he sees Seiyu sitting in the same place where he first found her. He is stunned and surprised. He asks her what a kid is doing outside at this hour. He tells her to go back home, and she replies that she does have a home now but that it's very far. So she asks him to let her stay at his house. And that's how the first season of this anime ends. If you've reached this part of the video, let me tell you that you've been one of the few people to make it this far. So comment the word love in the comments. Remember to subscribe to not miss any videos. With that said, see you in the next video.